Hello, this is Robert Kalua with the news on Zodiac. Our top stories tonight. Malawi now tops list of 10 poorest countries of the world on the basis of its gross domestic product per capita. Kashmir suspect Pompeo was in court today for hearing of a case of which attempted murder by fellow Kashmir suspects. And parliamentarians take government to task over ADMAC, which they say is not living up to its mandate for the people. A 9-year-old girl with albinism in Chikwawa cannot be traced 2 weeks after she went missing amid increasing stories of albino killings for rituals in the country. And elsewhere, Egypt is demanding intervention of the international community against Islamic State's militants in Libya. We have these and more in this program tonight. There is a mixed reaction among Malawians to revelations that this country tops the list of the world's poorest 10. The World Bank made the information public based on the country's gross domestic product, GDP. The ranking is based on Malawi's gross domestic product per capita, which the bank puts at $227. Here's what we got on the streets of Lilongwe today.
The truth is, Malawi is not poor, but many people in this country are jealousy. You see, here I'm selling clothes, trying to make ends meet, but somebody will come and snatch these away from me. Instead of going to other people who are operating illegal businesses, they are busy trying to take away things from me. How can I make ends meet? In that way, we cannot improve. So it's important that we have to stop being jealousy of each other and learn to help each other.
According to my opinion, I don't think that's true. Because here in Malawi, having the lake, we can use that lake to the forest. And when you use that lake to the forest, I think that lake can help us to generate income in this country.
One thing we have to know is this country is not poor. Many people are not doing well because there is no love. If we can love each other, helping each other, I think we can improve our nation. Look, many young people are not working. The youth are unemployed. It's important that people have to open up and start operating small-scale businesses so that maybe others can get employment. In that way, we'll keep things going in our country.
The problem with Malawi is that we as Malawians, we don't know how to use our own available resources. And as a matter of fact, people from outside countries come here to use our own resources instead of us using those resources to generate income that can help us develop economically, that is.
Dr. Blessings Chinsinga is a renowned social commentator and scholar. We sought his interpretation of this.
I think for me it's not very surprising because development is about achieving long-term structural transformation. And our experience so far has shown that we haven't been consistent in implementing development interventions. Therefore, it's not surprising that we are one of the 10 least poorest countries in the world.
Dr. Nyisinga, is it that as a people we are poor or we have poor ideas?
I think we are not poor, neither do we have poor ideas. I think we have ideas of what we want to achieve. But the challenge is that we don't have a strategic framework for implementation to ensure that what we hope for is achieved.
Dr. Blessings Chinsinga on news that Malawi is now the world's poorest country. We'll be discussing that developing story further in our subsequent news program. Government has begun parading witnesses in the matter in which it alleges that some people sought to murder former budget director Pompeo. The suspects include private practice lawyer and former Justice Minister Rafka Sambara and 5 others. Pompeo was shot and seriously injured in September 2013 at the gates of his Area 43 mansion in Lilongwe. The incident is actually thought to have been the beginning of the Kashmir revelations. Charles Wahara has more.
In the ongoing attempt to murder trial, former budget director Pompeo, the state has started parading witnesses. On Tuesday, one witness, Rodan Dovi, testified in the jam-packed court before Judge Mike Ntambo of the events that followed the next day Paul Montfort Pompeo was shot. Ndovi told the court that on early morning of 14th September 2013, the day after Mpio was shot, one of the accused, Dauga Manondo, who is answering charges of conspiracy, visited them at their house, where she was surprised by his visit and did not suspect anything because the accused told her that he and his brother Pika Manondo were afraid that Mpio attackers were after them because they thought they had money. In a re-examination, Mpio maintained that the testimony he has told the court is true, but denied that not at any point he traveled to South Africa with Pika Manondo. No drama was left out as defense lawyer Oswald Ntubila pleaded with the court that due to the health condition of his client, Mr. Oswald Lutepo, he needs some privacy. High Court Judge Michael Ntambo adjourned the case to be heard in camera, but the state, through DPP Mary Kajale, applied that they proceed with the trial in the absence of Mr. Oswald Lutepo. In September 2014, the High Court granted the prosecution permission to add businessman Oswald Lutepo to the shooting case to be tried. The 5 accused are McDonald Kumwembe, Pika Manondo, Raf Kasambara, Dauga Manondo, Oswald Lutepo, and Robert Kadzua. The case, according to Judge Michael Ntambo recently, is expected to be concluded by May 2015. Charles Wahara reporting.
Opposition Member of Parliament and government officials were today locked in a tussle over the role and efficiency of the Agriculture Development and Marketing Corporation, ADMAC. The majority of parliamentarians were of the view that the corporation is not living up to the expectations of the people, especially in the rural areas where they're expected to buy produce. Our reporter Sibongi Ziambo was in Parliament today.
Discussions this morning started on a low note with many seats empty. As a result, a lot of questions which are up for discussion in Parliament were not dealt with because owners of the questions were not present in the chamber. This morning, lawmakers took to task the Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, Dr. Alan Chembegeza, to assist the country with more ADMAC markets, which the members argued are no longer available in many parts of the country. The House this morning agreed in one voice, urging the Ministry of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development to bring back ADMAC markets, which were found in many parts of the country, providing farm produce to Malawians easily and providing readily available market for farmers to sell their produce without being duped by some vendors. The consensus in the August House also questioned the sporadic supply of maize in some existing ADMAC markets, saying the development is worrisome to the nation. Maize should be available all the time. Responding to the plea from the lawmakers in Parliament this morning, the Minister of Agriculture, Irrigation and Water Development, Dr. Alan Chembegeza, agreed that smallholder farmers are not benefiting from their farm produce because vendors are the ones taking the center stage of the markets countrywide.
The truth about the matter is the markets are available, but I think it's the service that is not being provided. This is because, there was a change in policy as far as operations of ADMAC were concerned. It was supposed to operate as a private entity. Government was not supposed to get involved. So they had to decide how they were going to operate, but unfortunately, because of lack of resources, they were not able to do it.
Another issue that also transpired in the August House today was on the security system, which lawmakers said is not strong enough for the country. It has been disclosed in Parliament that government only distributed 35 police vehicles to various police units out of the 50 vehicles which were bought last year to beef up security in the country. Minister responsible, Mr. Pochibingu, however, assured the House that the remaining vehicles will be distributed to other police units very soon.
For the meantime, out of the 50 vehicles, it's only 35 vehicles which have been already distributed to different places. But I'll ask the Secretariat to come up with the way how they distributed those vehicles, and I'll bring that information to this House.
But the response did not please many lawmakers in Parliament who said there is need for police units to be provided with vehicles so that they should do their work properly and bring sanity among communities. For Zbstv from Parliament, this is Sibongi Ziambo reporting.
A child rescue organization in the country wants the Malawi government to support organizations that help street children to lobby the United Nations for a World Street Children Day. Executive Director for Chisomo Children's Club, Charles Gwengwe said it is important that the world should recognize the plight of street children by setting aside a day to reflect on the matter. This, he says, could be through the adoption of the International Street Children's Day, which the organization commemorates every April 12th. We have this report.
The International Day of Street Children was set aside to provide platform to millions of street children around the world to voice out their concerns when it comes to rights issues. Executive Director of Chisomo Children Club, Charles Gwengwe, disclosed plans for his organization to push for the adoption of the Street Children Day by the UN.
The Consortium for the Street Connected Children have opened a website. We are signing, but at the very same time they are engaging local NGOs to make sure that we also lobby with our government that the moment the UN will be tabling the issue as an agenda, then the countries should not really struggle to adopt it.
Since its establishment in 2008, Chisomo Children's Club has provided services to more than 340 street children, of whom 297 were unsheltered and 87 were sheltered. The International Day of Street Children is celebrated by street children, NGOs, policymakers, business persons and individuals around the world.
That report was read in our studios by Winston Mwale. In the middle of the public outcry dwindling natural resources, government says it will soon be bringing a bill to Parliament in the bid to enhance current efforts aimed at conserving the country's flora and fauna. Minister responsible Atupele Mluzi acknowledged in Parliament on Monday the country is facing numerous challenges in conserving natural resources because of the absence of law that addresses environmental issues. Jacqueline Shema reports.
Minister of Natural Resources, Climate Change, Energy and Environment says for a long time, Malawi has been grappling with environmental degradation. Mr. Atupele Mluzi says this is due to lack of enforcement of all laws on conservation of natural resources. According to the minister, this is why his ministry is stepping up efforts of ensuring that all stakeholders take full responsibility in conserving natural resources. And the establishment of the Environmental Protection Agency is one step forward.
We recognize efforts that have been by the private sector to assist government in partnership for reforestation and the replanting of trees. We aim to plant at least 60 million trees, seedlings that have been distributed this year, and therefore the efforts by the private sector supplements ongoing efforts to ensure that we can actually begin to change the situation in terms of the massive deforestation that has taken place over the years.
The minister says stiffer penalties will be handed out to perpetrators through the establishment of the agency.
First of all, there'll be stiffer penalties for those that are in violation of certain provisions of the Act, which have been reviewed, but more specifically is the establishment of this Environmental Protection Agency. Currently, my ministry, my Department of Environment, is responsible for overseeing. We believe that it's important to have a standalone Environmental Protection Agency that will be responsible for oversight over the environmental aspects within the country.
Recently, the issue of illegal export of roundwood was a topic of discussion, with stakeholders bemoaning the continued reports of traders exporting the commodity despite a ban on its importation. Jacqueline Shema, Zodiak, Lilongwe.
Chinji recent participants during a panel discussion blamed lack of accountability in consultation and development planning of the slow pace of the development and implementation of the 2014-15 national budget. It was observed that a number of development activities are not effective and do not benefit the intended audience due to issues of accountability. The participants have since commended the return of ward councillors who they hoped would represent the people better. Jacqueline Shem again.
During a public hearing through a panel discussion on the 2014-2015 budget implementation in Mchenji district, participants cited alleged lack of accountability and consultation in development planning as the biggest challenge affecting the progress of development in the district and the nation at large. The participants observed that a number of developmental activities are not effective and do not benefit the intended people due to the alleged lack of accountability. A CBO representative in Chinji, Edward James Galiso, says this is derailing development in the district.
nufuna bempha kuti coordination kunoko kulibe.
What I want to ask is total coordination among stakeholders here in Chinji. We need to coordinate in all developmental activities. It is a problem here. We have an issue of early pregnancies amongst girls, while some contract HIV, and UNICEF is working towards reducing such cases. But no coordination is seen from government side. Even consultation is not there when budgeting on those activities.
Director of Finance for Nchinji, Andrew Mhango, says they are trying their best to bring development to the people.
And district district development plan.
At the district level, we have the District Development Committee, which outlines activities to guide us on what we need to implement at a 5-year period. At the end of the year, government tells us that this year budget within this range. For example, this year we have been given 952 million kwacha. So what we do is we sit down with councils now that we have councillors, and through different committees we plan on yearly activities.
Budget malire yake kapena mwakuti.
The public hearing was organized by the State of the Union Coalition in Malawi, also known as the National Advocacy Platform, aimed at providing citizens and the general public with an opportunity to assess progress and challenges encountered in implementing the current national budget. The theme for the public hearing was 10 visions, dreams, commitments, promises into reality through effective budget implementation. This is Dakin Shema for Zodiac.
A reminder that you're watching news on Zodiac, coming your way live from the Outreach Center in the Longway. Welcome back as we continue another look at our major stories. Malawi now tops list of top 10 poorest countries of the world on the basis of gross domestic product per capita. Kashgar suspect Pompuyo was in court today for hearing of the case of his attempted murder by fellow Kashgar suspects. A 9-year-old girl with albinism in Chikwawa cannot be traced 2 weeks after she went missing amid increasing stories of albino killings for rituals in the country. And elsewhere, Egypt is demanding intervention of the international community against Islamic State militants in Libya. This is Robert Kalua and you're watching News on Zodiac. In Chikwawa, a 9-year-old girl has gone missing for 2 weeks now without trace now. There are fears that she may have been targeted by people who are attacking people with albinism. There are beliefs among some people that body parts of people with albinism are used to get rich quick. The Associations for People with Albinism has recently condemned these acts. Christopher Sunday has more in this report.
Sub-traditional authority in Ndakwera told ZBS on Monday that the 9-year-old albino girl was taken away during one of the nights a few weeks ago when she was sleeping in a house together with her 29-year-old mother and other 5 children. Later, the girl's blanket was found 10 meters away from the house with blood stains. The chief said people tried to search around the area, but they would not find the girl. Chief Ndakwera said people there are living in fear because it is the first time for such things to occur in the area. Chikwawa officer in charge, Assistant Commissioner Macmillan Nyirongo, said police have even failed to find the girl. Ndakwera area has no police unit, and the Member of Parliament for the area, Mr. Zahiri Gafar Issa, said plans are underway to construct a new police unit there. Issa said was deeply saddened with the issue of the missing albino girl, adding that more needs to be done to protect such children. The missing albino girl, whose name is Aida Thomas, hails from Chaleka village under Chief Ndakwera in Chikwawa district. From Chikwawa, this is Christopher Sunday.
In an interview with an official from Federation of Disability Organizations in Fedoma, our reporter Winston Mwale finds that the organization has worries that the trend could worsen. Winston spoke to Fedoma Executive Director Action Amos. Apologies, we won't be able to bring you that report now. Stories about attacks on people with albinism for purposes of rituals first emerged in neighboring Tanzania a couple of years ago. The dual carriage on the Chipembere Highway is almost half undone, courtesy to issue bordering on financing. However, Blantyre City Mayor Noah Chalamanda has come first. Much works for the remaining portion will resume. From Blantyre, reporter Emmanuel Chibwana brings the details.
It was supposed to start in November with mobilization, but due to some other delaying factors, it hasn't started yet. So when you, if you recall what the chief did say, the chief executive, by March we should have equipment on the road doing the actual work.
Now to international news. Egypt has called on the international community to intervene against Islamic State militants in Libya.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said what was happening in Libya was a threat to world peace and security. His remarks came as Egyptian jet bombed ISIS target in response to a militant video to the apparent beheading of 21 Egyptian Christians. Libya has been in chaos since 2011, with militias battling for control of territory and two rival governments. But the BBC says there is little international appetite for military involvement, and the emphasis remains on trying to find a political and diplomatic solution to the problem. Mr. Sisi spoke by phone to French President François Hollande and Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi about the Libyan situation.
Military Nigeria says its troops backed by airstrikes have reclaimed the towns of Manguno and Mate from Boko Haram. This BBC report.
Meanwhile, Cameroon says its army has killed more than 80 Boko Haram soldiers and arrested 1,000 of their supporters. Niger also claimed on Monday to have arrested 160 people with links to Boko Haram since February 6. Nigeria, Chad, Cameroon and Niger recently formed a military coalition against the Islamist militants. Representatives from the four countries are currently in Cameroonian capital Yaoundé with other African leaders to discuss how best to tackle Boko Haram. In recent months, Boko Haram had seized control of much of Nigeria's northeast amid widespread criticism of the Nigerian army.
You've been watching news on Zodiac, but as we go, a recap of our main stories. Malawi now tops list of 10 poorest countries of the world on the basis of its gross domestic product per capita. Kashgate suspect Pompeo was in court today for hearing of the case of his attempted murder by fellow Kashgate suspects. A 9-year-old girl with albinism in Chikwawa cannot be traced 2 weeks after she went missing amid increasing stories of albino killings for rituals in the country. And elsewhere, Egypt is demanding intervention of the international community against Islamic State militants in Libya. That's what we had time for tonight. You will get details of these stories on our website. You have been with me, Robert Kalua. Good night.